Hey everybody, Happy New Year. I hope you're all doing good. What have you been up to? What have I been up to? Absolutely the usual, you know.
Part of the United Kingdom is now in lockdown, with people being urged to stay at home as the scale of the public health emergency becomes even more daunting.
Anyway, today I thought I'd show you the easiest way to step up your Instagram game by simply just optimizing your files for Instagram, and you might see a noticeable improvement. Today we're just covering some basic bits. I'll be showing you both in Lightroom and in Photoshop how to do them. Feel free to use the timestamps if you're only interested in one of them, and if you want mine more specifically, like what I actually do on a more regular basis for my Instagram, leave a like and a comment, and I will do a Photoshop one, because that's what I normally use to do all my work in. But I will show you both today. So, first off, let's cover some basics. Instagram supports 3 different types of crop. We have the wonderful 4x5, the most popular one, the portrait one. But people like this one mostly because it is the largest one you get. It takes up the most of the screen because Instagram's vertical, as we all know. So the 4x5 ratio gives you the most screen real estate for an image. This we will use for most of my pictures, but I'll walk through the other ones just in case you're not into that kind of vertical image style. We also have the 1x1, which is, you know, a nice middle ground between the 4x5 and the last one, the 1.91x1 for their landscapes. They do support, apparently, I think you can go a little bit higher, a little bit wider, but you will maybe be subject to some compression from Instagram, so I don't touch it, and I don't normally do landscapes. But I have picked out 3 images that show what they could look like depending on what you shoot. Annoyingly, obviously, as you probably know, I do a lot of portraiture. So I've got 2 portraits and 1 landscape. You know, it's not the most diverse selection, but let's jump right in. So to start off, we're going to be using Lightroom. As we can see here. We have, as I said, the 4x5, which is this image here. I do like this crop just because it works really well with portraits, and as I said, you get the most screen real estate, as basically, the reason being, every type of image you put to Instagram, the bottom width will always be 1080 pixels, just because it's typically, Instagram is a phone app, so 1080 is the widest you can get it. We then move on to my 1x1 crop, which I've done for this picture. I typically think this is nice for product photography and, you know, stuff in the vein of that. But I always go for the 4x5. You get so much more space. And then finally we have a landscape that I've also got here. So, once you've edited all your pictures, like you're happy with the results, you know, you're ready to export for Instagram, we're going to select our image. We're going to go down to the export tab, export away. You're going to get the lovely UI. Obviously, put it wherever you want it to be, because obviously I don't know your file sorting, and mine is terrible. We're then going to go down to optimization. For Instagram, I highly recommend using a JPEG, as it is the most compressed image format that we can do. It's 8-bit color, which is what you have to have for Instagram. I also must insist you use sRGB, because if you don't, you'll have weird color shifting, where Instagram will then convert it itself to sRGB, and it'll mix all the colors up and make it look terrible. So make sure sRGB, JPEG. A lot of people say lower the quality down to about 85-ish, but I honestly don't think it makes a huge difference anymore. So leave it however you like. And then obviously, if we're going straight from Lightroom to Instagram, I'm going to recommend that you open up the width and height resize. And obviously I've already got them entered here, but you're going to want to change your width and height to the correct ratio. For the 4x5, it's 1080p by 1350. For the 1.91 by 1, it is 1080 by 608, the weirdest ratio, which is why I don't like it. And then for the 1x1, obviously it's 1080 by 1080. And then once that's all done, you can simply just export it. And then you're all ready to go. Lovely. It's that simple, and you will see hopefully a noticeable improvement as Instagram won't compress. Oh, I did forget to say as well, if you find your image isn't quite as sharp as you'd like in Lightroom, I would personally recommend you actually use the editing tools themselves, like, you know, gradients, brushes, radial filters, and all that jazz. add sharpening where you see fit. But if you don't want to have to do that, you can actually, in the export, there is a sharpening for screen option. I'd recommend using either standard or low. If you go to high, it gets a little bit crispy, and I'm not a huge fan of the overly sharp images, but it's all preference. So I'd say have a fiddle with the sharpening if you find you're not quite satisfied. Well, that was nice and quick, wasn't it? We'll move on to Photoshop, shall we now? Let me just open up the images. I didn't actually have Photoshop prepared. So once you've got your image open in Photoshop, obviously I've just straight over imported it from Lightroom. So once you've edited your picture in Photoshop, or you've moved it into Photoshop, depending on your preference and whatever you do. Anyway, once you're in Photoshop, make sure your crop is correct. There is a small bug occasionally with Photoshop where if you import from Lightroom, it won't be actually the correct crop ratio, but you're like a margin of 0.001. So I'd say literally just click and recrop it. Same process, head up to File, head into Export. Now we're going to use the new export as, because it's a little bit more efficient and speedy than the old-fashioned Save for Web. Again, make sure it's a JPEG, as a JPEG 8-bit color channel. We're going to want to stick it on either 100% quality or, as some people say, down to 85 or in that range. Again, fiddle to you see fit and however you like it. I'm not, entirely sure. I personally don't see a huge noticeable difference. Again, enter 1080 as your width. And then, fortunately, Photoshop's quite nice, and it will actually adjust it for you down to the correct ratio, depending on your crop. Either select Bubonic, Automatic, or Sharper, depending on if you want it sharper. But I find Automatic is usually great. I don't normally have any problems, and if I do, I normally actually go back to the file itself and then edit it and then re-export it. And then again, make sure Convert to sRGB is ticked on, or as you can see, we're going to get some weird color shifting, and we don't like that. But this is a great way to see what would go wrong. Then export to wherever you want it. And obviously, same again, if you're doing the landscape, 1080 by 608 pixels, or if you're doing a square 1 by 1, 1080 by 1080. And that is it. That is how you optimize your files for Instagram nice and quickly to get the highest quality without Instagram's compression kicking in. Anyway, I hope that has been of some help to you all. I hope that's upped your Instagram game by maybe like 5 to 10%, as it's always a shame when you upload something and it doesn't look how you want it to, but this should hopefully get you like most of the way there, and it should usually look exactly how you want it. And again, if you want to see a more advanced version of what I would do personally to get my Instagram images exactly how I want them, leave a comment. It would be an entirely photoshopped tutorial, as that is my preferred choice of editing software for my photos. But yeah, I hope you have a nice start to your year, and maybe this year I'll actually make some videos and not just say I will like I do every year. So yeah, have a nice day, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. I do like it when I take my hat off. Like, I've got such a long hair now. It's like wild, man. Like, ooh, that is a look. Oh yes. Anyway, lovely. Oh, I think I got it.